Moody's Analytics' perspective on Gump Trump's economic policies is a warning that Gump Trump-style tariffs weaken economic strength, harm business investment and consumer confidence, and curb the Fed's ability to ease interest rates, putting economic stability at risk. The unpredictability of U.S. trade policy under Gump Trump is slated to deteriorate global credit conditions, raise default risks for lower-rated companies, and shave at least 1 percentage point off U.S. growth while also raising costs for consumers and businesses. Tariffs equals economic drag, lower investment, tougher credit, rising consumer costs. Threats and unpredictability equals instability, recession risk, diminished planning confidence. Fiscal and credit concerns equals growing deficits, weaker debt affordability, reduced fiscal buffer. Moody's, or more specifically, Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi, is sounding the alarm on recession risks. In early August 2025, Zandi stated that the U.S. economy is on the precipice of recession, citing weak job growth, flat consumer spending, pressures in manufacturing and construction, rising inflation, and the dampening effects of tariffs and restrictive immigration policies. To delve deeper, jobs data, July brought only about 73,000 new jobs, with massive downward revisions, roughly 258,000 jobs combined, for May and June, the biggest two-month revision in decades. Spending and production, consumer spending is stagnating, durable goods purchases have dropped, and the ISM Services Index remains barely above contraction. Manufacturing and construction are also showing signs of decline. Structural pressures, tariffs are eroding profits and purchasing power, while a tightening immigration stance is constraining labor force growth and limiting rescue options by the Fed. The official definition of a NBR-style recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth is a common rule of thumb used by many, including Moody's, when identifying a recession. However, the National Bureau of Economic Research, NBR, adopts a broader approach. They define a recession as a significant decline in economic activity that is widespread across the economy and lasts more than a few months. This includes multiple indicators such as industrial production, employment, income, and retail sales, not just GDP. Moody's Analytics approach. Moody's Analytics doesn't rely solely on a GDP-based definition. They employ probability-based forecasting models to assess the likelihood of an upcoming recession. They use a probit regression model, which estimates the probability that the U.S. economy will enter a recession within the next 12 months, based on historical relationships with macroeconomic and financial indicators. Key indicators, predictors, include yield curve, often the spread between long and short-term interest rates, a reliable recession predictor. Other variables like CPI, employment data, stock prices, house prices, and industrial indices. The model is trained using decades of monthly data from around June 1978 through the present, labeling each month based on whether a recession occurred in the subsequent 12 months. The model is evaluated via backtesting, checking how well it predicts known recessions. One metric is the separation indicator, essentially how often the model assigns low probabilities, less than 33%, when no recession subsequently occurs, and high probabilities, greater than 66%, when a recession does follow. So therefore, as it sits now, Moody's is not officially declaring a Gump Trump-created recession yet, but their top economist warns we're dangerously close to one.